Power creep is a term used to describe when something new is introduced and is better than a previous something in nearly every way and some, leaving that something underpowered and in the dust, completely useless after you unlocked its better alternative. Dandy's World, like most games, is no stranger to power creep. Nearly every game with a bunch of playable characters has it. The first form of power creep showed pretty early as the game's release. As new players slowly were climbing to unlock every toon, there was one that stood out amongst the rest. I introduce you to V. When this game first released, V was the ultimate extractor. There was nearly no reason to use any other extractor at the time. To unlock her, you had to complete Brightney's masteries. This was interesting. Brightney was all around pretty good stats at the cost of little to no stealth, and an ability that made blackouts way better, highlighting twisteds around the map every so often, but V does all that but basically better, allowing you to highlight the twisteds whenever, and having the ability to highlight the closest machine. Being able to highlight twisteds from anywhere for you and your team is a must for most runs. But just like Brightney, V wasn't safe from it. Let me introduce you to who is considered by many the ultimate extractor to end all extractors. Yada is in what a lot of people's eyes killed V, due to her also having 5-star extraction but paired with incredible survivability. As well as her twisted holding a trinket that basically was a personal V ability, this is basically what killed off V. V's case is interesting. Her fall-off didn't come from her being bad by any means. I think, and hear me out, it's how old she is. She feels very outdated compared to the rest of the toons, so I think a rework is vital to bring her back to her former glory. When it comes to reworks, Finn is another one that is probably in need of one. On August 14th, Finn was released to the public, but already there was an issue. Shelly existed. Finn was kinda outclassed from the start, which is rather unfortunate. But it's not like Quell completely slipped it under the rug. She has made efforts to fix some of it. Scraps was a toon that not really anyone used after unlocking Goob, as Goob was just seen as a better Scraps to many. Scraps got reworked a bit after, making her a lot more self-centered and a lot more viable in solo. Which thank God, because I'm going to be honest, Goob feels like complete shit to use and I don't know why. But I'm going too far ahead. Let's go back to December, when most of the cracks started to show. The release of Louie was the start of a bunch more cracks. Louie kind of outclassed Poppy, as Poppy has a small speed boost and Louie has a constant one, at the cost of less health, but it's not much of a trade-off to make Poppy an option over Louie. But then a month later... Three of the Christmas toons were the epitome of power creep. Rudy was the final nail in the coffin for Flutter, basically better than Flutter in nearly every single way and is just beyond busted. Once you have Rudy, there's no point in using Flutter anymore. Ginger was widely considered a better Cosmo due to her way better extraction and higher healing range, and Cole wasn't power creep, she was power crept by Pebble immediately. A lot would disagree, but one thing that's for certain, this update killed Flutter. Outside of Cole, Flutter is basically the worst toon in the game, or at least in my opinion. Rudy is still basically unstoppable, being at the time the best toon, I'd say. Until... Yada, as stated before, is what killed off V. The similar extraction, but on top of high survivability, made Yada the more popular option over V. V has had one of the most storied lifespans of any toon in this game, once considered the best by many to completely fallen off. But despite all I've said and what many have said, these toons could all still be usable afterwards. You see, what separates V from Brightney and Yada is that V has pretty bad survivability. One single encounter could end you pretty quickly, making her a lot better with full teams. Brightney and Yada performing way better in solo runs or runs with not a lot of people, as they are way more self-centered and can handle a lot more on their own. Finn, Cole, and Flutter aren't really savable, they'd need buffs or even reworks. Cosmo has better survivability than Ginger. Ginger performing way better for smaller teams with her extraction, so Cosmo could perform a lot better in bigger teams. In conclusion, this game's power creep isn't as bad as it has been made out to be, but if Quell isn't careful with how she balances new toons, it could get really bad if she doesn't know what she's doing. But I will give her credit, she's done way better than most could do.